Did you ever walk when your feet were tired? Did you ever walk when the road was gone? Did you ever sing when your heart was aching? Did you ever sing just 'cause there's a song? I will walk and I will sing and I will bring a little courage for the morning, bring a little courage for the day. Did you ever laugh when all hope was lost? Did you ever laugh just to ease the pain? Did you ever weep till the tears were gone? Did you ever weep teardrops like rain? I will laugh and I will weep. I will bring a little courage for the morning, bring a little courage for the day. Did you ever stand when the rest was silent? Did you ever stand a million strong? Did you ever dream in the darkest hour? Did you ever dream right to change the wrong? I will stand and I will dream and I will bring a little courage for the morning, bring a little courage for the day. I will walk and I will sing and I will laugh and I will weep and I will stand and I will dream and I will bring a little courage for the morning, bring a little courage for the day.
Welcome to this online service of the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Waynesboro for Sunday, July 3rd, 2022. My name is Kay Yost, and I am a member of UUFW serving on the Worship Arts team, and I was recently elected to the board as your incoming vice president. Tomorrow is a federal holiday, July 4th, or Independence Day, celebrating the ratification of the Declaration of Independence in 1776. It is a day of celebrations with fireworks, parades, concerts, picnics, and it is marked by patriotic displays and expressions of love of country. The Declaration states, "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. While these rights did not extend to everyone when they were written, during the course of my lifetime, there was a sense that they were expanding, and civil rights were increasingly granted to women, people of color, and the LGBTQ+ community. Today, however, some of these rights are being rolled back, and threats to democracy are increasingly evident. I am recording this message a day after hearing more testimony regarding the January 6th insurrection at our nation's capital, led by the former president and his supporters, in an attempt to overturn the 2020 election results and interrupt the peaceful transfer of power. It is also less than a week since the U.S. Supreme Court officially overturned Roe v. Wade, ending the constitutional right to an abortion. Many of us are now wondering if more rights will be rolled back in the weeks ahead. So on this July 4th holiday, many of us are feeling angry and dismayed by these recent events. At the same time, I will celebrate the right to vote and our First Amendment rights to the Constitution, protecting freedoms of religion, speech, press, assembly, and the right to petition the government for change. I take comfort in the ongoing protests taking place every day and in the ongoing investigation surrounding the events of January 6. If you are a visitor here, I thank you for spending time with us in this online service and invite you to come visit us in person in our fellowship hall in Waynesboro. Contact information and details on how to donate to support the work of this fellowship appear at the end of this video and can also be found on our website at uufw.org. The flaming chalice is a symbol of our movement and our faith. I now share these words for the lighting of the chalice. We light our flaming chalice to illuminate the world we seek. In the search for truth, may we be just. In the search for justice, may we be loving. And in loving, may we find peace.
Our words of prayer today are by Joan Javier Duval. Holy Mystery, silent presence, uncertain bearer of the weight of it all. In these quiet moments we listen. We listen for the maybe still breathing, perhaps still whispering, faintest sign of the universal good. We listen between the cacophony of distractions pulling us toward untruth and falsehood. We listen amidst the shrill cries of desperation, of we've had enough, of when will they stop killing my people, of how much more will the waters rise, of when will it be safe to return to my home, of how much longer can I hang on? We listen and we wait through the tumult of these days. We seek assurance. We seek the fulfillment of promise, a promise made to ourselves, a promise made to those we have been stretched to call neighbor, a promise written and enshrined and yet unfulfilled. Help us, abiding mystery, to hang on, to hold on when all is in question, when all is in doubt. Help us to stay firm to our commitments and our own promises. Lead us back into connection, back into the bonds of humanity that help us to know each other as beloved. May we continue listening. May we keep watch. May we beckon love and justice and mercy with our own whispers, with our shouts, with our cries, until all know themselves to be part of the circle of love. Let us hold the joys and the sorrows of this community today unspoken in our hearts together quietly.
Equality in a Sea of Inequality by Peggy Clark. I think we've heard this selection before, but it's a good one, and I'm happy to read it again. When this country was founded, the aspiration was high. The men who imagined it dreamed big, casting a vision of a world where all men were created equal, where rights were endowed by our Creator, transcending culture and the expectations of the day, where life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness would be allowed and enjoyed without infringement. It was a radical and new vision, born from Enlightenment optimism inspired by scientific discovery. It was an intoxicating vision, as bold as the Protestant Reformation that swept all of Europe. And they had the hubris to believe they could make it happen. They staked their claim in the Declaration of Independence and institutionalized it in the Constitution. They elected their first president, and when he stepped down, relinquishing power to return to the role of citizen, those founders believed they had lived to see their vision realized. A new president ran for office, and the republic was up and running. It was done. A new world order. Those men weren't distracted by the genocide they inspired, or the enslavement of other people they required for this nation to be born. They declared equality while swimming in a sea of inequality. When they declared all men are created equal, they meant white Protestant men. They didn't mean women. They weren't including Black people who'd been enslaved or those who were free. They didn't include Catholics, Jews, or people who didn't own land. They were so proud of their inclusivity, so inspired by their own cutting-edge philosophy, that they had no idea how narrow it was, how constrictive, how small a vision. The men who wrote those words were calling into being a more perfect union. They were establishing justice, ensuring domestic tranquility, securing the blessings of liberty. They believed that they and the men of their generation would will this nation into being. They would establish the structures required for such a grand vision. They would test it, and then it would be done. They didn't realize that would require many more people, many different voices. They didn't know how many generations would have to be part of the creation of the dream, how long it would take before the nation they imagined would be made manifest. The soul of America has yet to be born.
We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who
Many of us love a good fireworks show. Probably most of us have deep feelings of belonging when we think of our country, but probably most of us are at best dubious of rah-rah patriotism. You know, the kind that says, my country right or wrong, the kind that imagines our country is always on the right side of any international disagreement or conflict of values, the kind that doesn't reflect on the lack of true justice or consider how we are implicated in it. Here we are on another holiday weekend, this time commemorating the winning of 13 American colonies of independence from Britain. We give lip service to our august beginnings, and yet here in the 21st century we have long been closer to the former homeland of those original white colonists than they were then. And if the United Kingdom is long and now still our closest ally, what does it mean to make a big deal out of their long ago conflict over taxes and governance? What does it mean when white people in America, of whatever European origins, are the heirs of the colonial system that stripped lands and dignity and freedom and life from the indigenous population and has never yet settled that debt? When white Americans are heirs of the system of trafficking in human beings and considering the profits from the labor of others to be our rightful inheritance, even if we personally never saw the wealth. And how are we able to love our homeland when we know what our political ancestors did to shape things, and at what cost, long before we were born? When we know the wrongs that our government and our society have not yet righted? When we have inklings of what, for example, our CIA did in our name in Central America, in Eastern Europe, in the Middle East? When the current Supreme Court is willing for the first time to deny rights once known as settled law. In 1852, Frederick Douglass gave what was to become his most famous speech, in which he asks the question that was shocking to the sensibilities of his hosts, who must have wanted to be congratulated as good people in a land that had some problems. He said to them that day, "What to the American slave is your 4th of July? I answer, a day that reveals to him more than all other days in the year the gross injustice and cruelty to which he is the constant victim. To him, your celebration is a sham." And so, in any generation, our most vaunted principles, our most elevated and revered leaders are, in a biblical expression, a whitewashed wall to people still living with the effects of oppression, the absence of meaningful and comprehensive justice. Decades ago, when I was a university exchange student in Germany, I surprised some of my German peers because of my liberalism and condemnation of injustice in America and in some of America's actions in the world. They were accustomed to observing a more gung-ho American patriot like some of our soldiers then stationed there in Germany and drinking in pubs and bars near their bases, the kind of presence that was obvious through casual observation. They were surprised at my comfort level with things culturally different from American ways that too many visiting Americans were vexed by. Indeed, they thought I might end up staying in Germany and not even returning to my homeland. One of my fellow American exchange students did just that, in fact, and is still living and soon will be retiring in Germany, not returning home for anything more than a visit. When I came home to the United States, I found myself in the interesting situation of realizing, perhaps for the first time, just how deep my American identity ran, despite my depth of appreciation for much that I had encountered abroad, and despite my criticism of many things that our government did and many things within our broader culture. Then later, when I lived in Japan, and then again returned to the States, Japanese friends found the depth of my Americanness that called me home strange. They thought I might end up staying there, but here I was, American critic, hater of the American empire, despiser of America's global dominance, who nonetheless could never imagine this not being my home. For many years, I thought that when what some would call my time would come, that I wanted my ashes to be scattered to the four winds and the seven seas, dissipating myself and my story totally. But as I have aged, I have come to want my body's ultimate destination to be something more central to my identity. The country cemetery where the earliest of my Midwestern American ancestors are laid to rest, where 7 generations are gathered, where my grandparents, my aunt and uncle, and some of my cousins are buried, where my parents will be buried in their turn. I have come to recognize that my being American, thoroughly intertwined with the nation's story of oppressions and thefts and genocide and greed and graft, though it certainly is simultaneously a grounded story of my family, with its own challenges and identity issues, but settled in time and space against all odds. I realize that this is my home, the country where my heart is, even though every land has skies and features that are beautiful and compelling, especially for those with deep personal connections. And that those connections are what cause me not to give up in the face of a Supreme Court that would strip away much of what we have known as good in America. Even when a recent president is shown to be the kind of leader we can only be shamed for having countenanced his being in office. I imagine an America that can be, despite the challenges and injustices of the one that is. In spite of our realities, I see America as Walt Whitman did so long ago. I hear America singing the varied carols I hear, those of mechanics, each one singing his as it should be blithe and strong. The carpenter singing his as he measures his plank or beam. The mason singing his as he makes ready for work or leaves off work. The boatman singing what belongs to him in his boat. The deckhand singing on the steamboat deck. The shoemaker singing as he sits on his bench, the hatter singing as he stands, the woodcutter's song, the plowboy's on his way in the morning or at noon intermission or at sundown, the delicious singing of the mother or of the young wife at work or of the girl sewing or washing, each singing what belongs to him or her and none else. The day, what belongs to the day. At night, the party of young fellows, robust, friendly, singing with open mouths their strong, melodious songs. And I see America as beat poet Lawrence Ferlinghetti did in his poem, I Am Waiting, which includes these words, I am waiting for my case to come up, and I am waiting for the rebirth of wonder, and I am waiting for someone to really discover America and wail. And I am waiting for the discovery of a new symbolic Western frontier. And I am waiting for the American eagle to really spread its wings and straighten up and fly right. And I am waiting for the age of anxiety to drop dead. And I am waiting for the war to be fought, which will make the world safe for anarchy. And I am waiting for the final withering away of all governments, and I am perpetually waiting, awaiting a rebirth of wonder. Or Shirley Goklinlim's poem, Learning to Love America, which lists reasons like these for her attachment to America. Because here I have nursed my son at my breast, because he is a strong American boy, because I have seen his eyes redden when he is asked who he is, because he answers, I don't know. Because to have a son is to have a country, because my son will bury me here, because countries are in our blood and we bleed them. Let us love our homeland without excusing the inexcusable portions, so many of them as they are, of our history. Let us hold its place in our stories and in our hearts. Let us find our independence in each other and in our own actions, not in the fallacies and misunderstandings and, yes, hatreds held by ancestors. And finally, let us be gathered when our time comes to that deep core of our identity. However else I see myself and you see me, I am an American. July 4th doesn't mean a lot to me personally, but this country, my deep ties to it, these are meaningful and a standpoint from which to do good, seek justice, and walk humbly. Amen. Blessed be, and happy 4th of July.